Good Wednesday afternoon to you. 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good afternoon. The Browns rookie minicamp a week from next Friday. So that Mother's Day weekend will be rookie minicamp. Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy, longtime NFL cornerback Rodney Harrison, with their thoughts on Shedeur Sanders and how he should approach his time with the Browns.
Shedeur is a smart quarterback. He knows the game. He's in that football background. He's got intangibles. He has played and gotten his teams better, both schools he's been at. So he's got a lot going for him. He's just got to figure out, I don't have to be the entertainer. I just have to go in and be the quarterback. And if he does that, he's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Coach, that is so well said. And if you asked me a question, say, what advice would you give Shedeur? And I think my biggest advice would tell him, just make sure that your motivation is pointing in the right direction. You don't want to lash out to the media because they're not your enemies. You want to embrace the media. You want to try to establish a relationship with those guys. And away from your father, you want to establish who you are as a person. So work really hard to gain the trust and respect of your teammates, because that's who you're trying to impress. It's your teammates. That's who I always tried to impress, was my teammates. And then the coaches came after that because they know how hard you're working. If you're meeting with the quarterback coach, if you're staying after throwing routes like Peyton Manning used to do before and after games and stuff like that, Coach. So that's what I would tell Shedeur, is make sure your motivation is just pointing in the right direction.
Well, NFL head coach Tony Dungy understands the dynamics of a quarterback competition as well as anyone. Here are some things he thinks will be challenging for Kevin Stefanski and a crowded Browns quarterback competition.
That's very difficult because normally in your quarterback room, you have your guy that's, your number one quarterback. How many reps does he need? You're going to figure that out for him. And then you've got a guy that you want to develop, and you're going to give him the rest of the reps. And it basically is two guys that you're really trying to get ready for the season. Well, they've got five guys they've got to figure out. Who is our number one guy? We don't know that. Which one of these young guys? Is it Shedeur? Is it Gabriel? Is it Pickett? Who are we trying to develop? And there's not enough reps to develop all five of those guys.
So Tony Dungy counting Deshaun Watson in that mix until he goes on, the injured list or comes off the injured list. He won't factor into that. All right, former NFL offensive lineman Brian Baldinger with his thoughts on how the Browns arrived at drafting Quinshon Judkins in the second round. This is from 92.3 The Fan.
Well, Quinshon's a bigger back. He's just bigger and more powerful. And so, one guy is 20 pounds heavier than the other. They're both equally as fast for the most part. I would say Trevion catches the ball a little bit better, but Quinshon's got incredible balance. And maybe that was because he was a great skateboarder. I myself never will be seen on a skateboard. I don't have that kind of balance, but the guy's got tremendous balance. I've seen him, some of his workouts that he does. I don't know how he stays on these objects that he's balancing on, but they got taken at 36 and 38. These guys were neck and neck, and they split reps. I thought they helped each other out, to be honest with you. Because Trevion was a 4-year starter, Quinshon a 3-yard, I think, this year. The way they balanced the 16-game schedule that they had to win the national championship, they split reps. And sometimes Quinshon got hot early in games, and he got the bulk of the carry. Sometimes it was Trevion. I don't know exactly how they divvied it up, but I think they both helped each other out. I think Cleveland, they got the first choice, and they said, we're going to take the bigger back.
Without question. So they arrive at Quinshon Judkins. Shedeur Sanders already in town and already out in the community. Was speaking to kids at John Marshall High School in the city of Cleveland today. So Shedeur already here working out and getting involved in the community. We'll talk plenty of Browns with Casey Kinnamon, as well as Jeff Lloyd coming up in just a few minutes. Guardians went into last night 3-game losing streak and then sat through a long rain delay where it rained a little and they waited to play a long time. Tanner Bybee came out and pitched really well. Bybee gets the swinging strikeout there. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, and no walks. Good start for Bybee. In the 3rd inning, a scoreless game. Bo Naylor, and that one's not coming back. Gone to right field to give the Guardians 1-0 lead. In the 5th, the lone mistake that Bybee made, that was middle of the plate, up kind of high, and Ty France ties the game up at 1. Remain tied until the 9th inning. Kyle Manzardo, and yeah, that is a walk-off home run for Manzardo, 2-1. The Guardians win it. It's Manzardo's 8th home run of the year. A great start by Bybee, a walk-off home run by Manzardo, and it adds up to a win for the Guardians.
He just doubled up on the changeup, left it up, and I was kind of just hunting the middle of the plate, looking to drive the fastball through center, and if he leaves an off-speed pitch up like that, looking to blast it into the gap or something like that.
Everything we needed and more, and everything Tanner needed and more, and just you could tell, even during the delay, he was so calm, just matter of fact. Hey, do you know anything yet? I'm like, hey, you can relax. We're going to be a while, and he just stayed ready the whole time. Even got ready. Both he and Paddock. That was really 2 professional starts. I mean, it's not easy waiting around that long, and then we're going, and then we're not, and then so. Tip your cap to Paddock, but Tanner was absolutely outstanding.
Luis Ortiz will get the start for the Guardians tonight. It is Game 3 of a 4-game series for the Twins, so the Guardians are trying to make it 2 in a row. So after the Cavs swept the Heat, it sets up their semifinal series. We know it's the Pacers now. We know it will start here in Cleveland Sunday, Rocket Arena. ESPN's Bobby Marks, Danny Green, with their thoughts about what impressed them the most with the Cavs in the playoffs.
From a Cleveland's perspective, I think it's their depth. I mean, I think when you look at it with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter coming off their bench, I think that being healthy is important. The layoff now with Darius Garland, be able to kind of rest here, certainly missed the last 2 games here. And you look at the 2 teams that, they could potentially face, likely going to be Indiana.
Right.
They're going to be refreshed when we get to a conference semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Bobby here. Not only their depth, but their maturity. I love the approach that they're taking. Don's locked in this. They're laser focused. They've shown a ton of growth with winning this series. They don't seem satisfied at all. They're ready to win and play. And to me, with how they're playing and how healthy they've been, I see them as the favorites in the East right now. Boston is struggling against the Orlando Magic. And right now, Cleveland is rolling, and they're laser focused. I love what they're doing and how mature they've been.
We will talk plenty about that Pacers-Cavs series with Ethan Sands, Cavs beat reporter, a little bit later in the show. Up first, Browns and Casey Kinnamon. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report up next. Stay with us on Sports4CLE.
Hey, Olo, are there any lunch specials near me?
You want to learn about Ohio Lottery's Pick 3?
No.
Okay, Pick 3 is a daily draw game.
Cancel.
Where players pick 3 individual numbers between 0 and 9. The numbers can be played straight, where they must be drawn in an exact order, or boxed, where they can be drawn in any order. It's quick to play.
I just want lunch.
Players can win hundreds, and wagers start at 50 cents. The next drawing is coming up. Want directions to the nearest Ohio Lottery retailer?
Yes. One that serves food.
Browns are first up on Sports4CLE. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave Frank from Cleveland. A couple things for you. Great coverage on the draft. And Shedeur Sanders. He's our Mr. Irrelevant, just like Brock Purdy was for the Niners. Watch this kid. I wasn't a big fan of him, but now to get him in the 5th round, this kid's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Well, I'm looking for him to do good. And with the wide receiver group, we got to find out what we got with Jamari Thrash, Cedric Tillman. We drafted these people. Let's see what they got. Put them on the field with live action instead of letting them ride the pine and watch and learn. How about that, Dave? I love you, brother. You be good, be safe for you and the family, and I'll be in touch. But watch out for Shedeur with that chip on his shoulder.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report. Casey, in the 5th round, I have absolutely no problem at all with Shedeur Sanders. I like the pick a lot. I might have even been willing to go a little bit sooner than Andrew Berry did. It's a no. They got him in the same round as Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah, if you had told me that before the draft, I would have bet you my life savings that wasn't a possibility. But I'm not so much concerned about the chip on his shoulder as I am just he has to understand, this is a be who can afford to be league, and he slipped for a few reasons. So now it's incumbent upon him to come in and put the work in, put his head down, master the playbook, and just show that he belongs here. As long as he takes that approach, I think he'll be just fine. His skill set fits what Stefanski wants to do pretty well. As far as the receivers, though, yes, we need to see what we have in Jamari Thrash, and we started to see what we had from Cedric Tillman, but it's not incumbent upon the coaching staff to just give them the minutes. They have to earn it. And as long as they take that approach, I think we'll see plenty of both of them this year.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say about the wide receivers, we haven't put any draft capital into them. The 3rd round is the earliest you've taken them. Tillman and Anthony Schwartz under this regime were 3rd-round picks. Thrash was a 5th-round pick. In order to get elite receivers, you got to take them in the first 2 rounds. It's just you can point to, I know Puka Nacua was in the 5th and this guy was in the 3rd. Those are outliers. If you want a guy that is elite, go get him early.
And I think we saw this approach with defensive tackle for years. They were mid-round guys, and then the last 2 drafts, what have we seen? A 2nd-rounder and a 1st-rounder. So they took those mid-round swings. They couldn't develop those guys. Then they started taking higher caliber talent in that position. And I think we'll ultimately see that a wide receiver as well. I think going forward, and I expected them to take one this year. And there's a couple spots they could have taken a swing on receiver, and they opted not to in this draft. So that is a philosophy I'd like to see going forward.
Yeah, it's a passing league. They value cornerbacks. If you value cornerbacks, I don't understand why you don't have the same kind of value on a wide receiver on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to just the lack of equity. They haven't had a lot of high round picks coming off the Deshaun Watson thing. So we'll be able to properly evaluate that going forward now that they have, multiple 1st-rounders next year. The 2nd-round picks are coming back into the fold. So that is something that you're correct. If you look around this league, you can find a ton of 2nd-round wide receivers that have hit. But you start dipping into that 3rd, 4th, they become scarce. So I would like to see them take a swing next year.
All right. So there was video of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, their reaction, if you will, when the Shedeur Sanders pick was announced. It got a lot of attention on social media, probably more than it should have. And the thing that people need to realize, that's time shifted. So you're not matching it up exactly with the announcement. Now, what we have done is, here's the call from Andrew Berry to Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur, can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, I know it's been a long weekend. We're going to take you off the board here, all right, brother?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Hey, listen, you got to come in, you got to work hard, you got to earn your job, earn your keep. And it doesn't matter where you're taking, it matters what you do from this point forward, all right? Talented. We spent a lot of time with you. You're a good kid. Let's get ready to go to work and improve what we pass on the ball. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right? I got a coach here right now.
Yo. What's up, coach?
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to see you.
Remember I told you the Lord works in mysterious ways, right?
No, for sure.
It's an opportunity, and we're going to get to work together, okay, buddy?
Woo! Beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
And again, Casey, you hear a lot of things. So Jimmy Haslam forced him. I believe this guy is too good to pass up at this round. Now the slide, it might have been because, he kind of did some things that surefire top 5 picks do. I'm not going to work out at the Shrine Game. I'm not working out at the Combine. I want to go here, here, and here. Those are things that you can't do unless you're one of those top 5 elite skills guys. Plenty of guys that have gone later in the draft that have gone on to have long NFL careers.
Yeah, it's a be who you can afford to be league, and some players can get away with certain things. I think the league kind of told Shedeur that they weren't going to put up with a headache. And it was a failed approach from Jump Street, even from Dion going back to November, dictating, saying he's going to decide where his son plays, and then to not work out at the combine and to not play at the Shrine, all these missteps. And then you hear some noise about what was happening in these interviews, and it just rubs some people the wrong way. And even though I heard that the interview with the Browns went fine, but you just start to hear all these things from around the league, and then it becomes, that it was weighted. And then by the time he dropped as far as he did, that's worth the risk, at that pick, because if he comes in and he is a headache, you can move on, and there's no pressure because he's a 5th round pick, as opposed to if you take the guy at number 2 overall, or if you trade back into the first for that guy, and that circus comes along with him, and then you have a problem on your hands because the draft equity sunk into him. So where the Browns got him, they can afford to move on if he's not about his business. I think he's going to be about his business, though. I think hopefully that slide was enough to humble him to the point where he understands, be seen, not heard. Put your head down, do the work, and put your best foot forward. And that starts at rookie minicamp. He's got to, before he can prove anything long term, he's got to prove that he deserves reps in front of Dylan Gabriel, a quarterback they took 50 spots ahead of him. So the work starts right away, and as long as that happens, I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, and again, young kid. He's a kid. That's what people don't realize. Bad, whomever was it, Dion, was it whomever? Bad advice to a kid. Now, the thing is, and it's what Kevin Stefanski alluded to. Doesn't matter what happened before. It matters starting whenever you walk into this building. You're being judged.
Yeah, and I think as long as he realizes he has a clean slate.
Yeah.
Come in and put your best foot forward, show that you're a leader of men, take control of the huddle, show that you are the things they need you to be a starting quarterback. Because he has starting quarterback tools. He doesn't have elite traits. He doesn't have a bazooka for an arm. He's not a crazy athlete, but he's accurate, and when he's on time and on schedule, he can be a perfectly efficient point guard that can move an offense. So that's what this team needs from him, and he needs to prove that to them.
So, longtime NFL head coach Tony Dungy on who he felt had the best draft class this past draft. This is from NBC Sports Football Night in America.
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns for a couple of reasons. They had a chance to maybe take one of those one-time impact guys. They moved down a little bit, got some extra picks. Mason Graham is a guy that we all liked. He's going to be a good complement to their defensive line and what they have now. And he's going to be a really, really good player for them. Schwesinger in the 2nd round, sideline to sideline linebacker. Well, now, if one of those 2 quarterbacks hits, if it ends up being Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur, if they get their quarterback of the future, then that's a heck of a class, and they did some good things.
Casey, the pick that you liked the most, the pick that you kind of were scratching your head about when you look at this draft class?
It's tough for me for the pick I like the most because I love all the skill position players they took. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with Judkins. Like I just look at the caliber of running back that he is, and we're talking 6'1", 220. Obviously, we've seen what he did on the field, but he put on a 4.4 at the combine, just a ton of juice, and that's what this running game has lacked. And I think you get a guy like him, that's a day one starter. And then if you combine that with the guy they're going to supplement him with Dylan Sampson, a true home run threat, a little smaller, but has really get up and just home run ability just to take it to the house. And I spoke with Daniel Jeremiah, and I asked him a question. I said, give me some running backs that would fit in Kevin Stefanski's wide zone scheme. He named 5 backs. 2 of the backs were Judkins and Sampson. So it's a perfect scheme fit versus need. And I absolutely love those picks. The first pick that had me scratching my head was Schwesinger, and nothing against the player. Anybody in my orbit will tell you he was my linebacker 1. I just didn't think there was a chance they would go get him that early. It kind of caught me off guard. Love the player, and I think by the time we get to week 6, it won't matter what he was taking. You'll just be thankful to have him. He's a player with fantastic movement abilities, crazy good instincts. He can get washed out in the run game, but when you go draft a Mason Graham to put in front of him to keep him clean, Schwesinger's someone I can lead the league in top eventually. But if you look at the players that were on the board, we talk about need of wide receiver, and Luther Burden's sitting there. Jaden Higgins is sitting there. The offensive tackle from Minnesota, Ariante Arasari, sitting there. So that just caught me off guard. So it was a bit of a head scratcher to me in the moment that it happened.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the more I hear and see Schwesinger, I see what they like in him. You know, that's a guy that's going to make a lot of plays without question. Case Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report, and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break, back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from the Orange and Brown Report. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Just want to make a quick comment. I wish that we quit drafting these shrimp quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel is a nice college quarterback, but he's pretty much destined for the Canadian League or UFL. He's not an NFL quarterback. I do like Shedeur Sanders' pick. I know there's a lot of noise right now around the whole thing, and the Browns can't win for losing. We get criticized when we pass on him, and then we get criticized when we finally take him. Anyway, I think he's going to work out okay. And then I really just wish that we would find a way to keep Nick Chubb. I hear that he's probably going to sign with the Bears. Show a little class, Cleveland. Sign him back. If he's really washed, you can cut him and then no one's going to say anything. But if he's really not washed, then you've got a huge, huge fan base support for this move. Please sign him.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Casey, Nick Chubb, I think the Browns want to show him the proper amount of respect. If he can get somewhere where he's going to get the ball a little bit more, like the Bears, they're going to let him sign there. They got younger at the running back position. That's what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough thing, you know, when you get to a stage in the running back's career where he might not have the juice. And unfortunately, that injury against Pittsburgh just robbed us and him of so much of his prime that it's unreasonable to assume that he'd be back to that pre-form. Could he still be valuable? Absolutely. And the fan base loves him. He's the heart of the team. He'd be a perfect mentor to someone like Judkins, that running style, the violence, he could really show him how to go about his work as being a pro. But if he can get more money and more playing time elsewhere, you can't blame him for taking that. But the longer this plays out, and he still doesn't have a home, it's still realistic that he could come back here and there could be a spot for him. When I look at this running back room, the way it's constructed with Judkins and Sampson and Ford, they still don't have a clear third down back, because what Ford can give you as a receiver, he can't give you in pass protection. Chubb can pass protect, so you could still see a role for him here, but you got to do what's best for the player. And right now what's best for Nick Chubb is to see if he can get a bigger opportunity that he'll be able to get in Cleveland. I would still love to see him back. I would love to see him finish out his career in Cleveland, Ring of Honor, the whole nine. It is what it is. But when you get to this part of the player's career, it becomes just as much about business as it is just fan service. So they got to kind of toe that line and let it play out.
Yeah, the short quarterbacks, I'm not going to lie, it does concern me. But Dylan Gabriel, Kevin Stefanski was involved in that process of evaluating him. He clearly saw skills in Dylan Gabriel that will translate. And the guy's played a bunch of college football, has 18,000 yards, and a strong arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that kind of gets lost in the whole thing because of his diminutive size. He has a hose. That kid can reach all levels of the field. We talked about head-scratching picks earlier, and this is one that really got me. But if you just look at it and you add everything together, we've said for years, man, we just want Stefanski to pick his own guy and go with that. And this is what we got. This is what that is. So recognize that for what it is. They got him in 94. Do I think he'd have been there at 126? I do. But the reason they take him at 94 is they felt like they had to leave the draft with him.
Yeah.
So for me, that's enough to kind of reserve judgment and let it play out. I don't like making a habit of betting on outliers. And at 5'11", 205 pounds of quarterback, that certainly qualifies as an outlier. It's not prototypical size. But if you look how effective he is, and you bring up his experience, 63 starts, like that, he has a wealth of experience. He should be able to come in right away, grasp the playbook, and show that he can be a true point guard of the offense. And we've wanted Stefanski to get his say at quarterback so that when he finally does, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it.
So here's the thing. It appears that Andrew Berry was drafting for production here. And listen to this. Gabriel, Big Ten Player of the Year. Dylan Sampson, SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Shedeur Sanders, Big 12 Player of the Year. Harold Fannin, MAC Player of the Year. 4 of their picks were their offensive or players of the year in their conference. So, and he was going with mostly big-time conferences.
Yeah, Schwesinger led everybody in tackles. Judkins 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons is a crazy ton of production. The most production we've seen out of a draft class in Cleveland, and it was only 7 players, and everything Shedeur is able to do is that they definitely leaned on that and definitely big conferences. And this was a shift. This was an atypical AB draft. You just look at positional value to go defensive tackle, linebacker, and running back right off the rip like that. I think that's why it feels weird. But when you look at the players, they are able to land at those positions and kind of secure up some needs. It starts to make sense. But I think it just caught us all off guard because we've had 5 drafts before this to compare it to, and this is not how AB has typically went about his job here. So it felt a little different. But when you look at the players they're able to land, and you walk out of that draft with 3 day 1 starters, 2 players that will play big roles on offense that necessarily won't be starters, and you took 2 swings at quarterback. I think when you walk away from this draft, you really can be disappointed.
So, Casey, given that, do you think where the Browns are at a team now kind of affects the way Andrew Berry has drafted? Past couple years, they've kind of thought they were there, and he was kind of trying to add to, a team that was a playoff team. Now it's kind of, we need some guys from this draft that can help instantly.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes me the most excited about this draft class is they drafted players that lean into what Kevin wants to do offensively. I think for me that's the biggest thing is we knew we wanted to run the football. They go and get 2 explosive running backs with a ton of juice. We need more 12 personnel for going back in the wide zone stuff. You go and get a player like Harold Fannin Jr., who's like positionally agnostic. You can put him anywhere and that you can motion him out of the backfield, play him as a big slot, play him as an inline, use him as a gadget guy. He scored 4 rushing touchdowns as a Wildcat quarterback his freshman year. You can just use him in so many different ways that it kind of adds to what you're already doing. And defensively, they're going to be able to stop the run. Like we can say that it's a throwing league as much as we want, but when teams can just take away your soul by just running the ball down your throat, it demoralizes a team and it gives up easy first downs. It doesn't matter if you can get a team to 3rd and 2, but if you can't stop the run, they're going to keep moving those chains. You go get a defensive tackle like Mason Graham and a linebacker like Carson Schwesinger. I think you see the recipe. They're going to play defense. They're going to run the football. And then we already know that Joe Flacco can operate Kevin's system, and the play action is going to be useful with a running attack. So I like the way it's coming together. And if you're they can be as secure in their jobs as they want. We know they have to do something this year. And if Kevin's going to go out, he's at least going to go out doing what he wants to do. And that makes me excited.
All right, before I let you go, you look at this roster. What areas need to be upgraded most?
They need a starting free safety. That is one area that I kind of expected to get addressed in the draft. And it didn't. They overlooked it again. And they've been renting free safeties. You can think back to Thornhill or John Johnson, but they still need to keep swinging that axe. You got to go get another guy to pair with Hickman. And they need to keep looking at this wide receiver room. I know they signed Deontay Johnson, but to me, he's a slot receiver. And between Judy and Fannin, I think you're pretty set there. They did place the unrestricted free agent tag on Elijah Moore. So we'll see if that helps out any. But that has a while before it plays out. They need to go get another threat on the outside, somebody who can win one-on-one matchups. You need to keep adding to that room and just give Flacco more and more weapons. So those are the 2 areas I would look at, wide receiver and free safety.
Casey Kinnamon, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you guys again.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out. The Orange and Brown Report, always really good stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. Jeff Lloyd from Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report straight ahead. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network's draft analyst, with a scouting report on the Browns' first-round pick, Mason Graham.
Mason Graham from Michigan, defensive tackle, 6'3.5". He is 296 pounds at the NFL Scouting Combine. This is someone who has a wrestling background, and it shows when you study him. I wrote the words block destruction numerous times on my paper when watching him play. He's able to leverage underneath blocks, use his hands, discard blockers, and find his way to the football. His vision and instincts are outstanding. He's able to locate the ball, close, and make plays. The range against the run is very evident. He can make plays outside the tackle box, and the effort is tremendous. As a pass rusher, I still think there's upside there. Continue to add to his arsenal of moves, but has a nice club rip move that he wins with. And again, the effort, run, and pass is excellent. Mason Graham, I think, is a very good player right now, and I do think his best football is yet ahead of him.
Mason Graham making an impact.
So welcome in Jeff Lloyd from Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. So they trade up to 2 to get, or down from 2 to 5, get a first-round pick to get Mason Graham. Thoughts of the trade?
It was really it was actually fun the way it was all going down, because we started an hour early, and that's when really the talk was starting to pick up about the way it was all going to go down. And what it was is you got Jacksonville, who was just so enamored with Hunter that they basically were ready to give up everything they had. I think at the end of the day, the Browns realized, and, I think some of us were right, some of us were wrong. I think the Browns realized that even whatever you thought of Travis Hunter was not going to be the guy that automatically was just going to flip this offense 180 degrees. And all of a sudden, this offense, which was lacking last year in a lot of things, was all of a sudden going to become a plus for you. So you take the extra ammunition. I mean, first round picks in the NFL, it is such the absolute commodity. And I think for the Browns, knowing there would be the opportunity for 2 picks in 2026, you still had a lot of capital you could play with here in 2025. It was something they couldn't turn down. You get this player on the interior. And for years, the Browns really never had a long-term plan, on the defensive tackle position. You tried Perion Winfrey, you tried Ika, you tried Jordan Elliott. None of these guys really turned out to be, dominant forces. But between, the selection last year of Mike Hall in the second round, now with Graham here in the first, Juwan Briggs showed a lot of promise last year as a rookie. So now you have these 3 guys playing together for the next 3 seasons minimum, playing next 3 seasons with Myles Garrett. I think it really changed, the focus here, on the defensive side of the ball. And, yes, I was an Abdul Carter guy, but I honestly felt that if you added one really good player to the defense, I thought it was going to make the defense a much more improved unit. I didn't think you were going to have that same opportunity with taking Hunter as far as the offense was concerned.
Yeah, that's fair. We talked so long about putting a bookend with Myles Garrett, and in some ways, putting a guy next to him is probably more effective, especially because you probably saw it a little bit in that clip. One of the things about Graham is he plays off of guys around him really well.
I think that was actually a great point that you just made here, because if Myles is going to go screaming around the outside, there's nowhere for the quarterback to go but up. And if you think, the Browns signed veteran Malik Collins, what is his strength? Interior pass rush. Mike Hall Jr., what was one of the biggest strengths he had coming out of Ohio State 2 years ago was interior pass rush. It's still going to be a work in progress with Mason Graham, but some of the same reasons he wins and wins so quickly and blowing plays up in the backfield, that same type of leverage, that same type of hand usage, that same type of quickness can be used in pass rush. He's just got to get more familiar with it, obviously. But I think, with Miles coming around the edge and whoever else it could be, whether it is a McGuire and, an Alex Wright or a Joe Tryon, that should all aid to, obviously quarterbacks having to step up in the pocket. And the Browns' interior pass rush now overall is much, much more improved than it had been in years past.
So in the second round, first pick of that second round, Browns take a linebacker, Carson Schwesinger out of UCLA. Brian Baldinger, film breakdown on Schwesinger.
I mean, this guy's got instincts, like crazy instincts. And then his game speed, I don't know how fast he runs. I don't remember. I don't even know if he ran. But his game speed is good because his instincts are good. So he gets a jump no matter what he's asked to do. Against Penn State right here. You watch this right here. Reads the cutoff block, and then he gets skinny, all right? Watch this. He reads this, get skinny, get through that crack right here, and then make the tackle. All right? Those are instincts. Like when to get skinny like that, to get through the cracks so that guard can't get up and get you and get on you. Here he is, right in your mirror right here. What, he just trusts his eyes. He's going to beat the offensive guard across his face right here. Guard's got to block him. Bam, beat him. All right, now, keep your eyes up. Meet him in the next hole. And when he tackles him, the play ends. Like, this is a good football player right here. All right? 1 year of major production for the Bruins. Like, you watch this full-speed chase right here. Here he comes. He's fun to watch now. Like, he had, 90 solo tackles for the Bruins this year. Like, all right, you want to defend your goal line? Here you go. Browns got themselves a good linebacker.
So, linebacker was not on my bingo card for early in the draft. How do you think Jim Schwartz uses? I mean, there's talent. You see the talent on display. How does Jim Schwartz use Schwesinger in this type of defense that he likes to play?
Well, I mean, if you go back to 2023 and we saw prime JOK, and some of the things that Brian Baldinger was highlighting there was like 3 or 4 plays that were sequenced together from that Jet game from JOK. And it was all that type of thing, knowing which way to have your body. Hey, knowing, man, I got to get a little extra giddy up here because I got to beat that guard to the spot. Because, look, I'm 240, he's 310. We collide, I'm probably going to lose. So the only way I win this collision is basically by being out in front of it. That way he's not getting a clean, full block on me. I think what impresses me the most, and there's a couple of things that stand out. And the Browns, this was probably a huge theme of this class was, players with good athleticism, with good tape, but most importantly, guys that look like they're pretty solid stand-up guys. And the thing for me with Schwesinger is you look at his first 2 years in UCLA, basically did nothing but played special teams. This day and age, what would that have told you about any and most other players in college football? What it have meant? Portal, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. So he got this opportunity this year. So this is legit it wasn't 1 year of production, as Baldinger said. It was really only 1 year of getting to play the position. So the fact that he did this well, and yes, 90 solo tackles, led the nation. He's just scratching the surface. Rookie year, he may not blow up. But there's probably another jump in overall play to come from Carson Schwesinger. And you factor in 6'2", 240. We were getting to this odd thing with linebackers where we were getting closer to like 6'1", 220. 6'2", 240 is a size that plays in any age of football. He tackles everything he sees. He's quick. He's strong. And the thing that I really like is that this is a guy that's stuck in the situation. He was there. Didn't go running away. Said, you know what, I'm going to fight. I'm going to get my opportunity, and I'm going to show everybody just how good I am. And you want to know what? There he is, pick overall 33, whereas, when college football season started last year, this wasn't a guy that was on anybody's radar in any way whatsoever.
Jeff Lloyd, host of Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Talk a little offense. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Hey, Olo, are there any lunch specials near me?
You want to learn about Ohio Lottery's Pick 3?
No.
Okay, Pick 3 is a daily draw game.
Cancel.
Where players pick 3 individual numbers between 0 and 9. The numbers can be played straight, where they must be drawn in an exact order, or boxed, where they can be drawn in any order. It's quick to play.
I just want lunch.
Players can win hundreds, and wagers start at 50 cents. The next drawing is coming up. Want directions to the nearest Ohio Lottery retailer?
Yes. One that serves food.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Back in the off season, leading up to the draft, everyone's like, we need to fill that quarterback room up with arms to compete. Well, we got them in there, minus Deshaun, because that guy's going to be a cancer in that locker room. But I'm looking forward to watching these guys battle it out. And I know Joe Flacco, I hope, will come out on top, because I got a little special heart filled for that guy. But anyway, let me know your thoughts, Dave. We wanted quarterbacks. We got them now. All right. Love you, brother. You and the family be good. Be safe, as always. And I'll talk to you again. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Jeff, Kevin Stefanski said they were going to look everywhere and anywhere. 4 quarterbacks, 5 if you count Watson, but I agree. I don't think that's going to come into it. It's going to be hard to get reps and looks at them, but they're going to do it.
Well, I would say right now to anybody, like whoever you think your guy is, I think anybody's got a shot right now. You know what Joe can do with this team, can do within this offense. I would say most likely you would think you're looking at Joe Flacco as your week 1 starter. Maybe you get a rerun of that magical run in 2023. And a team that a lot of people aren't sure about whether or not they're going to contend in 2025, maybe you start off 4-2. Who knows? And then you see where the season goes from there. I think Pickett, and I liked the idea of it at the time. I just think now Pickett might be in a real tough spot here. Joe already kind of had a relationship with the team. Obviously, there is 4 years now of an investment within Dillon Gabriel, within Shedeur Sanders. So unless Kenny Pickett goes out and just basically shuts the entire conversation down by just playing the best ball of his NFL life, it could be a tough road for Kenny Pickett. The kids are interesting. Gabriel, obviously, due to his maturity, the amount of time he's played in college football, I think there's a lot of belief within, the Browns coaching staff, that he comes in, and if you said you wanted him to be the starter, you wouldn't normally say that of a guy that you drafted 94th overall. Dillon Gabriel, certainly a little bit different with his age and his experience. Shedeur, and I'd actually gotten a call right after the pick was made. And basically what I was told was all the negatives, always had played for his dad. The offense was catered to him, which is a crock. Every offense is catered to the quarterback, right? But the thought process is most of what your negatives are about Shedeur, you're not going to get an answer unless you draft him. How is he going to act when he stands on his 2 feet? Well, you know what? Nobody knows that now that he is his own man. He is not part of, a Deion Sanders-led team anymore. He is now Shedeur Sanders, the Cleveland Browns quarterback. So you're going to get answers to that. It looks pretty good. Here, working out, went to go speak at a local school today. There are traits and personalities I think we see in Shedeur Sanders that could have this fan base really fall in love with him. And look, this fan base will do it each and every year. They will find a crush at quarterback. They never got the opportunity to basically marry a quarterback as far as fandom for a decade. You see other franchises do. It doesn't happen here. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and it's certainly going to be interesting how you're going to divvy up this time. I don't think Joe needs the practice time that everybody else does. And the other thing is, if you do think he is the starter week 1, there's no sense for him, throwing out every throw in July, throwing every throw in August. But you really want to get a good idea as to where you're at here between Sanders and Gabriel. Because I think at the way it's going to shake up, if you ask me who starts week 1, it's Joe Flacco. If you ask me who starts the most games in 2025, it's one of the 2 rookies. Maybe I would say Shedeur Sanders. But it's going to be fun. And, this room has been completely ripped apart and redone. And basically you got 4 guys in there. And for any of the 4 in that room, they probably feel that, hey, if I do what I'm capable of doing, if I play to the best of my abilities, this gig is mine.
Yeah, and you know what? They should. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders earlier in the show. We showed you he was out at John Marshall High School. Rookie mini camp begins a week from Friday. And Shedeur Sanders, this is in Cleveland, already here working out, trying to get comfortable and get on his own as he tries to, like you said, win that quarterback battle. Now, again, it's not thrilling, but, the point is, Jeff, he doesn't have to be here until next, a week from Friday, and he's here, and he wants to be here.
Well, you had players that reached out to him. this is now the opportunity. This is full-time life. You're not going to classes. You're not on campus anymore. This is your life. This is your job. This is how you're employed. This is how you pay your bills, all of these things. And, hey, he's had a really, really lucky life where he's had a great father who was able to basically support, him and his brothers and sisters in every way possible. But, now that opportunity is for him to do for himself. And, at the end of the day, nobody's going to care if one of these guys ends up being the guy for the Browns. And I'm talking about Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Nobody's going to care that they were drafted 94th overall or 144th overall. If one of these guys can go out there and be the guy for this franchise, and I'm not saying it is a highly high probability that it happens, but if it does, you look at it from the reverse aspect of is, wow, they got a starting quarterback at pick 94 or pick 144.
Yeah, the other thing is we've talked about having Kevin Stefanski kind of pick his quarterback, and it looks like Dillon Gabriel was that guy, if you want to believe by the draft. And Kevin Stefanski had to have input into that pick.
Oh, I would absolutely believe so. And I would believe a lot of it has to come down with the experience. I think a lot of it would have to do that Gabriel was at UCF. Then he was at Oklahoma. Then he was at Oregon. Now he'll make the transition to the NFL. So it's not like this is not much new to Gabriel. He was kind of on the move every 2 years anyway, trying to reestablish himself within a system, within a playbook, with a coaching staff, with teammates. These are all things that, should certainly, help. But neither one of these guys, if we're going to find out about either one of them, it's not going to be an extra practice time. It's not going to be in preseason games. These guys have played a boatload of ball in their life. You get them on the field. And, we'll find out quickly because this is the way it is in the league. You don't get a lot of time to fail in the NFL to find your way to basically becoming cemented, improve yourself. It doesn't work that way in the NFL anymore. But these guys, they're ready to go. It's not like either one of these guys. And again, when you pick a guy at 94, you pick a guy at 144, these are traditionally guys that would sit. These guys are not your normal picks at that age due to their experience and most certainly their age.
All right, before I let you go, 2 running backs picked, both highly thought of. What do you think of Judkins and Sampson and what they bring to what Kevin Stefanski and that type of offense is?
Well, Judkins, physical. That's the one thing about him. He's what I describe as a bumper car running back. Finds a lot of contact, sometimes looks for it, not necessarily needs to, but he does. His athletic at testing, I think, was a cherry on the top because you knew how physical he was on tape, how productive he was on tape. And then he tested like an athlete. I think that most people were impressed that he tested as well as he did. So, there's your guy, 15, 20 carries, and he's going to get his money's worth on every one of them. He's going to give it as good as he gets it. Okay, well, now when I take him off the field, here comes Sampson, different body build, 5'8", 200, good power runner. I think that's one thing that people confuse with Dylan Sampson. They look at his size and they don't think he's a good short yardage runner. You don't score 22 touchdowns without being good short, in short yardage ability. Good in the screen game. He's already spoken about, how he likes basically the spread. He likes how he has pulling linemen in front of him because basically it just allows him to basically dictate off of the linemen the way they set up their blocks. He just looks for the alley and just basically goes. It was a really nice job the way they put together this running back room, and having the two of them paired together for 4 seasons should really pay high dividends.
Jeff Lloyd, host of Browns 3D, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Oh, all the best, Dave. Anytime.
Jeff Lloyd, make sure you check him out. It's Orange and Brown Report. He is the host of Browns 3D. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We turn our attention to the Cavaliers, getting ready for the Pacers series. Ethan Sands, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Straight ahead.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Hey, Olo, Are there any lunch specials near me?
You want to learn about Ohio Lottery's Pick 3?
No.
Okay, Pick 3 is a daily draw game.
Cancel.
Where players pick 3 individual numbers between 0 and 9. The numbers can be played straight, where they must be drawn in an exact order, or boxed, where they can be drawn in any order. It's quick to play.
I just want lunch.
Players can win hundreds, and wagers start at 50 cents. The next drawing is coming up. Want directions to the nearest Ohio Lottery retailer?
Yes. One that serves food.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We know it'll be the Cavs and Pacers in the Eastern Conference semifinal. Game 1 will be at Rocket Arena here in Cleveland Sunday. Time still to be announced. ESPN's national NBA analyst Brian Windhorst has said since the end of the regular season, Pacers a tough matchup for the Cavs.
Primarily, they have the ability to make it more uncomfortable for the Cavs to play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together because they have 5 guys who play outside. And they want to pull you away from the basket. They also have terrific wings. Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith. Those are guys you're going to get annoyed about hearing their names and watching them make plays. And their version of Ty Jerome is TJ McConnell. He comes off the bench, total energy player. The Pacers typically win the bench minutes because of a guy like TJ McConnell, just like the Cavs typically win bench minutes because of Ty Jerome. Their version of Donovan Mitchell is Tyrese Halliburton. Now, Donovan is more accomplished as a player.
So welcome to Ethan Sands, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Ethan, I'm in no way saying I think the Pacers are going to beat the Cavs. It will be a competitive series, which we didn't have in the first round.
Correct. Yeah, it'll be a lot more fun than that first round series for everybody watching the game outside of Cavs fans just wanting to see the dismantling of the Miami Heat, right? I think the Indiana Pacers, as Wendy was talking about, they have the offense to keep up with a juggernaut offense that the Cavs have. As we know, the Cavs had set a new record for the best offensive rating since 1997 for their opening round offensive rating against the Miami Heat. Ironically enough, the 2024 Indiana Pacers team was 7th on this list, and they have a lot of the same key pieces from last year when they went on a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Exactly where the Cavs want to go, and to get past that, or to get there, they have to get past the Indiana Pacers. So this will be a fun series because of the offense, because of the chemistry, because of the chess match between Rick Carlisle and Kenny Atkinson, 2 really, really good coaches.
So regular season, can't really tell you much. Here's what happened. The Pacers won 3 out of the 4 games. Now, let me say, I say that, and both of the meaningful games, so the ones in January, were pre-DeAndre Hunter. Both games in April, Mobley, Mitchell, and Garland didn't play. Halliburton didn't play in the January 14th game. So the Pacers won 3 of 4. The 13th of April was the final regular season game, which, nobody played. You look at that, and you can't really go by what happened in the regular season because the cast of characters is going to be completely different.
I think, the cast of characters is going to be different, but I think you understand what kind of type of basketball that the Indiana Pacers play, right? Pace, space, get at you. It's not going to be a highly defensive series unless the Cavs are able to get out to a big lead, and then they can focus in on that end of the floor. But obviously, to do that, they have to be able to not only match the Indiana Pacers offense, but they have to exceed it. And there's not a lot of teams in the NBA that have been able to do that over the last couple of seasons. The Cavs are one of them. So that's why, again, this is going to be fireworks. It depends on how many different players can shoot the ball well from deep when it comes to the Cavs. Obviously, DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome are going to be huge, and I know we'll get into that a little bit later. But also Evan Mobley and how he's going to be able to space the floor, especially if Jared Allen is not on the floor with him, how he's going to be able to extend the floor into the perimeter, and how he's going to be able to guard on the other end of the floor, especially against guys like Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. It's going to be such an interesting series when we talk about the different matchups and different mismatches that could come of this series and how each team is going to play, because it's not just game-to-game adjustments, right? It's in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the fire, that both Rick Carlisle and Kenny Atkinson are going to have to make adjustments that are not only going to change the outcome of the game, but could be seen as uncomfortable depending on the relationships that they have fostered.
So you wrote an article with 4 defining storylines for the Cavs-Pacers series, and we'll go through them. Number 1, you had when the irresistible force meets itself.
Yeah, that's the offense, right? That's the beauty of the offense of each side. Like when you have two offenses that are just going to go at each other, there's an understanding that each team is going to try and outshoot the other. It's a shootout, right? It's pace and space, trying to run up and down the floor. And I know each team is going to get at least 4 days of rest because obviously the Indiana Pacers dispatched of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night. They don't play until Sunday. So each team is going to get the rest that they need. And I think the NBA might have been doing each team a favor because they know how much these guys are going to be running and how much these guys are going to be going at each other's throats because of the offensive capabilities of each team and how important that's going to be in the outcome of this series, especially after looking at the first round series where the Cavs obviously showcased their offense, but their defense was also prominent as well, holding the Miami Heat below 90 points in the last 2 games of that series.
So Jared Allen, you have a defensive anchor or situational sacrifice. Obviously, you wrote that and didn't have to say it, huh?
No. Exactly. I think just the conversation, going back to what Wendy was saying, is that because as I was saying, the offense, if they can get into a big lead, then they can focus on the defense. But Kenny Atkinson has known that if the Cavs are playing catch-up, he will go away from Jared Allen to put another spacer on the floor, another scorer, offensive guy on the floor, and the opportunities for Dean Wade and DeAndre Hunter grow significantly for those guys when you talk about how they have been used as both 3-and-D capable players, but also understanding that DeAndre Hunter was traded for these kinds of moments, being able to switch on and guard Pascal Siakam or Miles Turner, depending on the situation, and then allowing Evan Mobley and Kenny Atkinson to decide which matchup is best for him. Obviously, we have to break down this a little bit further. When the Cavs were trading for a player, they looked into the history of who DeAndre Hunter had guarded and how he would match up with guys like Tyrese Halliburton, like Pascal Siakam, like Miles Turner, like Jason Tatum, like Jaylen Brown, in future reference to what could happen in the playoffs. So again, this is why they went out and traded for him. This is why they went out and got him. So I think we got to see a little bit more from him in the last 2 games of the Miami Heat series, and I think that was significant because of how important he's going to be for this coming series against the Pacers. And if he's not able to step up to the task, Dean Wade is going to have to get those minutes up and get his foot on the gas as well.
So that takes us to the next point, the stretch 4 debate. Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter, or both?
Yep. It's got to be both. It's got to be both, right? Because obviously, you don't want to extinguish them too much. It's the understanding that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are the 2 top big men on this team. But depending on how things shape out, you're going to need DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade to play their roles to a T. And obviously, this is just speculation because we don't know the situation of Darius Garland's injury and his toe and when he'll be returning. I have a good feeling he'll be back for game 1 on Sunday. But also the understanding that before we get too far ahead of ourselves, the Cavs were able to successfully dismantle the Miami Heat in the last 2 games without Darius Garland. Not to say that they're better without him, not to say that they can win without him, but the understanding is that Kenny Atkinson now has seen how different lineups could be used. Does he use Max Strus as a two-man and allow DeAndre and Dean and Evan Mobley to be on the floor, all three together, to get the defensive aspect, the switchability of this team, and have that on the floor for different options defensively, specifically, especially if they feel like they're playing catch up, but also still having the defensive structure that they need to maintain what they're at and try and come back against a team that has Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Pascal Siakam, and abundance more that are able to score at length. I believe they had 4 different players score or average 40% or better from three-point range in the first round, of players that averaged 15 minutes or more, and also 2 or more three-pointer attempts a game. So you know that they're going to be shooting, you know they're going to be coming at you, and I think you need to have the defensive forefront while not trying to lose anything offensively, and that's where the Jared Allen discussion begins.
And the last one, Mitchell against Halliburton, those are the 2 showcase guys. You got to like what you've seen from Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs.
Game 2 was exactly what you needed to see from him, being able to put on his superhero cape and lead them to a victory. Tyrese Halliburton did the same thing in Game 5 with a closeout game. So you could arguably say it was a bigger contest for Tyrese Halliburton to do that and make a shot over Giannis Antetokounmpo to win the game. I think it's huge testament to how much Tyrese Halliburton has grown. I'm a guy that it's got to be pretty, right? It's got to be pretty for you to get my approval. So I'm not the biggest Tyrese Halliburton fan, but I feel like you have to be understanding and respectful and appreciative of what he's been able to accomplish in the playoffs. And he is 100% a playoff performer. And Donovan Mitchell is another guy that has had that as well. So you don't necessarily want to lean on these guys to carry you to a win. But if you have to, these are 2 of the top guys to do it around the NBA.
Ethan Sands, Cavs beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Great stuff. I am sure we will be checking in with you throughout the series. Thanks very much, Ethan.
Thanks for having me.
Ethan Sands, make sure you check him out. Great Cavs coverage for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.